Hey everyone, it's Luke here from Tudor, and I am excited to introduce you version 1.2 of our Blendcraft Compositor, a powerful, easy-to-use rendering tool for Blender users who want professional post-processing without the headache. Whether you're working on stylized renders, VFX shots, or game assets, this updated version gives you more control, better visuals, and smoother workflows. In this video, we are going to walk through the upgrades. But before that, to install an add-on in Blender, first open up Edit Preferences option, go on to Add-ons, go click on this arrow over here to install from disk, locate the zip file of Compositor 1.2, which is going to work with anything for Blender 4.4 and up. Let's go ahead and click on it. Then, once you have your scene set up and your camera placed in the scene, all you have to do is just go onto the Compositor tab, click N, and enable Setup Compositor. With the new version, you'll have an option to apply recommended settings, which will enable by default the transparency, switches the mode of rendering from CPU to GPU mode, and boosts render tile size for optimized performance. You can go ahead and click OK. This will create you a new tab called 3D Blendcraft Compositor. This version of Compositor tab will have everything ready and set up for you. On the right hand side, you'll still have all the options for your outliner, for your environment. You will also have Render Properties tab, which will allow you to change up the maximum samples over here, or additional items such as light paths, which you can change easily to be either faster rendering or slower but better visual look type of a render, more for volumetrics or glass cascades. Then within the 3D Tudor Compositor, once you have this set, within the Render Compositor, you can simply go on to Render Image to render your scene. Once we have our render done, we can either move this window to our secondary screen if we choose to, or we can work with one screen by just simply closing this down. Because right now the Compositor is set within the backdrop of the Compositor itself. To move your image around, you can use Alt and middle mouse button to move it around like so. You can also click V to zoom out or Alt and V to zoom in. And to see the Compositor menu itself, you can click Home button on your keyboard, which will locate you the Compositor nodes. Now let's have a look into the actual changes. Firstly, we have ourselves Presets tab. This will allow you to load the defaults tab and make sure everything is ticked off, and gives you back that default render image. Then you can also create a new preset by clicking on this plus symbol over here. You can double click on it and call it Compositor preset or something of the sort. Then once you have some options played around with, you can go ahead and click save, and it will save all the information. And you can even export this out using export selected preset and then import it into the new project using import preset. Once you import it, you would have to just simply select it, click load, and it would load you this preset. Now let's go over the settings. Firstly, we have output. This will allow you to change the resolution and file format directly within the add-on. On top of that, you have something called Bloom Pass. This option will allow you to save out Bloom as a separate format, meaning that when you're rendering something like a video, for example, you'll be able to save this out as a separate sequence. If you have an environment set with an alpha, with no background whatsoever, you can export this as a separate piece, have a properly masked environment, and that add bloom on top of whether you're working on video software like Premiere or an image editor like Photoshop. You'd be able to overlay that with ease. Next up, we have background. In here, you can change from either none, meaning that it's not going to use any type of other background other than the default Blender setup. You can also change this to be an alpha, which will give you the transparency in areas behind your environment. In this case, we have some cloud alphas as well, so that's also going to be saved out, and you can see that partial transparency is also enabled with this setup. And afterwards, we have something called image. Image would allow you to put your own image into the scene. In order to put in the background image, you would have to go into either one of the image editor locations, click on image, then select open, and you'll be able to locate your image, after which within the Blendcraft this will appear within the menu, because it shows every single texture and image being used in the project. These options over here would allow you to control the image position as well as its brightness to make some finer tweaks to make sure it better fits within your environment. Next up, we have a tab for a mist. If you enable this, by default it's going to look like this, and that's because you would firstly need to adjust the minimum and maximum depth. If we go back onto the camera setups, you'll notice that now our cameras have a preview for a mist. So in order for us to make it work, you would need to basically adjust this length in order to get yourself a proper mask based on a distance on how far the camera is from an environment. In this case, it's being quite far away, and for us to adjust that, we would simply need to go on to minimum and maximum, and we can change this up. So if I was to change it to 200 meters, because it's quite a lengthy distance, I would then be able to re-render my scene and get a proper mask. Once re-rendered, you're going to have a distance that is much better and much more usable, like this one over here, meaning that now we can make full use out of the mist pass. You can either use color ramp like so to just kind of decrease it, increase it. You can also make use out of this to lower down the mask in the back, just to make sure you get additional controls. And to change the color, you would simply go onto the color over here, and for example, if you want a little bit more green type of a pass, you can totally do so to get this type of a look. Maybe it's a little bit too much, something like so. Moving on, you have color. This will allow you to change the compositor setup for, well, making use out of the color setup. You can either increase the contrast in your scene like so, or you can make use out of the HSV, hue, saturation and value parameters to, well, color correct a little bit in regards to your original render setup. So lower saturation, increase the saturation, change up the brightness a little bit by lowering this down, or increasing the brightness by increasing this. All of these options are set within here. Next up, we have gloss. Gloss will allow you to change how easily the reflection is set up within your scene. So if I was just to zoom in onto one of the items that have a little bit more of a glossiness, for example this part over here, we can see the glossiness being affected with this option. It actually affects everything within your scene, meaning that if you want to make a more of a wet result, we could lower this down and it would make it look like, well, a little more wet, let's say, just like that. Just make sure not to overdo it, because otherwise it starts giving you artifacts. So within a reasonable amount, like so. Or if you want to dry up the scene a little bit, you can also use this to do so. And we also have brightness contrast to help you further adjust this if needed for the overall scene controls. Then we also have metal glint. So this one will make use out of, well, glint setup within a metal. If we were to increase it, we're going to start getting all the glint within the whole scene for all of the metal. So if we want to make something more shiny within the metal areas, we can do so. Of course, we have the opacity to control it, how much is getting used up. Next up, we have transmission, and this is for transparency settings. This option will allow us to control, for example, for this water over here, how well the lighting is and what kind of color, how bright the setup is as well. All of that good option. We also have lift, gamma and gain, meaning that you have even more control for the settings of your water shaders, of your glass and such. Anything that has transparency value, you will be able to control it through here, as well as you have some light level, meaning how intensely the light passes through your transparent objects. Next up, we have volume. So in the back over here, I have some bit of volumetrics for the forest in the back. And if we were to go into the volumetrics option, we can essentially change up this volume setting. So if I were to increase it, you can see the type of volume I'm using, like so, a simple block out. And with this, we can just use it to, well, change how intense the overall volume is, as well as color and density. So the color will allow you to, well, change it if we want to more of a blue hue. We can also increase the intensity, a simple multiplier value, just like that. Afterwards, we did some changes for light bloom. If we were to go onto it, we have some nice controls for the setup. We have, for starters, bloom levels, which will allow you to increase the overall bloom settings for the overall of the scene. We also have bloom types, which lets you change the type of blooms that we're using. Maybe the bloom level is a little bit too strong by default. We can lower this down, and we have all of the variations within here, just like that. And of course, we have ability to control the strength of the bloom using these options like so. If I was to change it to fog glow, we can see that this allows us to, well, get additional strength. On top of that, we also have lens flare threshold. So this is what controls these lens flares. We have the ability to enable the streaks onto the rest of the scene, just like that. Or we can have just the default lens flare for the overall scene as well. So using combination of length, strength and threshold, we can control where the streaks are going to be visible. If we want only for the most intense of the sources like the sun, we could make use out of the threshold to make sure we don't get any streaks within our normal bloom sections. And next up we have increased light range. So if the light range is not working for you, if you want more intensity, we can enable this, and this will allow you to, well, change up the intensity past the maximum values. Although by default I do recommend you just keeping it on, because it is quite intense to make use out of it, but you get real nice type of bloom effects just like that. So by mixing up the curves like so with the bloom levels, you can get some really nice glows. And of course we have option to control the bloom itself. So by enabling this, you're able to set yourself up with a custom type of bloom color, just like that. Next up we have the environment controls. So in cases when we have some skybox behind and whatnot, we can make use out of this to, well, allow us to change that environment. Some nice light bounces for the back. So for example, right now it's a bit lighter. If we want to darken this, we can do so, and it will darken the entire back of the trees as well, all the outliners and whatnot. So it's pretty useful to have. Next up we have ambient occlusion, one of the key parts for making a little bit of an additional depth, for getting more contrast out of your scene. If we enable this, right away we can see the type of difference that we're getting, and we're able to control this with our color ramps, enabling us to get some really nice controls for, if I was just to zoom in, for all of those crevices and whatnot within our scene. So just like that, we're able to, well, darken all the parts that we want. And on top of that, now the color is properly set. So before it was giving us some interesting tints all over the scene. Now it's only going to be within the ambient occlusion itself. If I was to change it to something like more of a green value, we'll see what I mean. And this is only going to change it within where the ambient occlusion is affecting the scene, essentially, giving us some real nice control on what kind of a setup we want. If we want more of, you know, of a purplish type of a look for ambient occlusion, we can totally get that, just like that. Of course, we also have master controls if you want to do some fine tuning and whatnot for a little bit of an additional intensity and contrast controls. We can set up some real nice setups using the master controls. And then afterwards we have all the rest of the beautiful effects that we can make use out of. We have diamond sharpen, which will sharpen up our image. We also have box sharpen, an alternative sharpening, which will, well, sharpen everything up. Right now my scene is a little bit noisy, and one way to fix that would be to use box sharpen with soften, and that will give us a little bit more of a stylized look out of the scene. We also have anti-aliasing, which will help us with all of those sharp and nasty pixelated areas. If we were to enable that before and after, you can see the pixels. If I was just to zoom in even more, you can see the pixels being smoothed out within this section. And we can play around with the settings to get even more intense of a value. Next up, we have color balance. So this is similar to what we had previously with the color setup over here, except this time it's going to affect all of the effects all at once, meaning that once we're done with all the volume metrics, all the bloom, this color balance will help us to get some additional controls for the overall color management, which is pretty cool. And to top it off, we also have RGB curves with hue correction. All of this, again, with some color correction and whatnot, will help you get some really nice effects for your scene. Then we also have brightness and contrast, basic type of setups for increasing the contrast, increasing the brightness in the scene, all of that good stuff. You can make use out of it to get some additional sharpness or to soften up the image. And then finally we have hue saturation value for some basic controls, again, of the color correction. And finally we have denoiser. This should be used as a last item within your compositor setup. You can enable this and it will smoothen everything out. You can either use accurate or fast option like so. But if you want to go back to controlling your scene, your setup, make sure you have this disabled because it will speed up your compositor and your corrections. You can also make sure that you're not using HDR. That is up to you though. Small little tweaks like that. And that's pretty much it. That wraps up the version 1.2 of Blender Compositor. We are really proud of how much smoother, faster, and more flexible this version is. As always, let us know what you create with it and features you want to see next. Until next time, happy modeling everyone.